something exciting. The promise of memories we'll keep forever. Fishing is a simple pleasure, really. One that makes us feel connected, makes us feel alive. And when your line tightens and your rod bends, it doesn't matter if you're a 6-year-old or a tournament pro. That buzz of excitement hits us all the same way. It's the moment we live for.
More than 50 years ago, we wanted to change the way people fish, moving off the shoreline to where we knew the fish were larger and much more fun to catch on light tackle. So we gave fishermen the ability to see individual fish under the boat. Ever since the Little Green Box, Lowrance has been driven to bring innovative products that provide real benefits to anglers.
Today, Lowrance continues to build on its heritage of innovation and enhance its reputation for success, helping regular folks catch more fish and tournament pros capture more championships. It's a fact. More pro anglers count on Lowrance sonar and chart plotter products than any other brand.
Folks at home.
By a long shot.
Yeah.
And as you might expect, there's a darn good reason for that.
You know, I remember the first time I ever caught a bass on an artificial lure. I was 12 years old in the Pocono Mountains. I walked to the end of the dock. I threw a topwater lure out, twitched it a couple times, and a 3-pound bass came up and exploded on this thing. My heart was pounding, I was breathing heavy. The minute I landed that fish, it was the most exciting thing that ever happened to me up to that point in my life. That's the reason I got hooked in fishing. And that's the reason 20 years later, I'm still doing it today. You know, I've got a lot of equipment in my boat, but without a doubt, the Lowrance unit helps me solve that puzzle quick, and it makes me a top angler.
Whether you're a tournament angler or a weekend warrior, you measure success by making the most of your time on the water. Lowrance invented the fish finder, and we keep on innovating. Make better fishing tools that give you a meaningful advantage. We share our passion for fishing by giving you the performance you want.
Whether I'm out on a guided trip or just taking out my wife and kids, I need to know a lot more than just where the fish are at. I need to know about tides, weather, where other boats are. I need to know the things that'll keep everyone safe on the boat. My Lowrance gives me that.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to FishTec Live, Season 2, Episode 9. Guys, once again, it's 7 o'clock Central Africa time here in South Africa. I see a lot of guys are joining us tonight. Welcome, everybody. Hello, Steve Barnett. Hello, Frikkie, Peter, Johan, Daniel McLaughlin, Mornay, Tim Stein, everybody. Good evening, everybody. And like I said, welcome. Tonight, I don't know if you guys will remember, I don't know how many of you were around for the very first show, FishTec Live show. It was January or February 2017, last year. Our very first one had Martin De Kock next to me, and we were talking about things fishing and mapping and charting and what have you, which was a great evening and got a fantastic response for it. So once again, I decided to do something different. I said to Martin, I'd really like to spend some time with you. You join me on the set one evening or whatever. And what we decided on was getting onto the water and just see how that pans out. And, you know, at the end of the day, guys, it is always fishing. You know, you're not guaranteed of anything. But it turned out to be an absolutely fantastic day. The weather was great, got nice and warm, so it was a really, really cool evening. Day. In fact, it was only a couple of hours. It was a few hours. By lunchtime, I was pretty much done. I know Martin carried on. But yeah, it was fantastic. So what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to put the videos up. You're going to see them come up here behind me. And I've broken them into segments. There's 12 videos that we need to get through tonight. Some of them are very short, others are a little bit longer, but we're going to see how it goes. What I'm going to be doing in the background is I'm going to be watching the feed on Facebook. So all you guys that are joining, fantastic. If you've got a question, please, by all means, ask. But very important, I've got my phone right here ready to call Martin. If any of you guys have a question for Martin, what we're going to do is you ask your question, I'm going to phone him, and we're going to bring him onto the show live from the comfort of his home via our cell phone. Let's hope that actually works. I know we did it previously with Brian Lepan and Michael Cannon, and that seemed to work quite well. And then when I tried to set it up this evening, I'd sort of forgotten how to do it. But anyway, let's see how it goes. So guys, first of all, let me just see here. Video number one. Okay, it was a very interesting morning with Martin, and what I decided to do is let's go right back to the beginning, to the basics. How did this whole thing start? I'm not talking about Martin De Kock's fishing career, because that's way before that. I'm talking about, remember, I'm an electronics head and a mapping head, so I'm concentrating on that perspective of things, on the mapping and on the things. So here's my first question to Martin. This is a video of 4 minutes and 15 seconds long, and yeah, let Martin take it away. Guys, I'm rewatching the videos here. Sorry, just pause off. Johan van Kopenhagen says the video is freezing, but he can still hear me. Mark Polsky, we'll discuss sales another time, not tonight, if you don't mind. Or you can contact Colleen. She's a lot friendlier than what I am, and she'll tell you all these wonderful things. But as far as the T2 goes, let's wait and see. The information on that is still very, very slim. So right, Martin, here we go. Something just now. A mate of yours who showed you this particular area before, you guys thought it was stumps.
Yeah, many years ago.
Many years ago. That wasn't even on the sediment chart. Those humps, these bumps and that. It wasn't big enough.
Yeah.
These buildings aren't on the sediment.
Yeah, they're nondescript, a lot of them.
Yeah. And even my earlier charts never had any of this on. And then you said when you found it, or your mate found it and you fished it together, you guys thought it was stumps.
Yeah.
But now, you know exactly.
Yeah, electronics in those days, you know, you could see the structure, and you could obviously feel when you're fishing it, you could actually discern that there's something really rough down there. Yeah. But we never realized it was actually like rubble. You know, we thought it was like an old bunch of stump from old tree, like a little piece of plantation or stumps or something. But as technology progressed, actually no, it wasn't even technology. One day the dam started dropping, and we noticed, we started seeing, hey, listen, these are rocks or boulders or rubble, you know, bricks and stuff.
In this video, when I put this video up, when we're having this discussion, and I put it up, I'm going to include an old set of photographs. There was a printed piece of paper that did the rounds sort of 12, 14 years ago, and there were these photographs of certain areas around the dam of what they looked like. And I think those, I don't know who took those photographs. Can you?
I saw them. I don't know who did it.
Did you ever? Because it was the waypoints. It was a printed sheet with the waypoint and the little photograph of what it was just above it.
No, I never got my hands onto it. But you know, I'm fortunately blessed with a good memory, and I saw the dam when it went down. And I had the old sediment charts, so you know, I could have put one and one together. But the thing still took a lot of time. And what I did then in those days, we used to use GPS at work for thing, and that was around 2001. We had these handheld GPSs, Garmin's, and just one day, you know, it was always like I was always fantasizing of, geez, you know, how handy this will be in bass fishing. But they used to scramble it in those days. The original GPS, I think You know, so you could come fairly close to a spot. Like for the saltwater guys, it was great. You know, you'll find the reef, it's like within 100 and 150 meters from where you stop. But for bass fishing, that's you need to be within the 1 meter. You know, and one day I was messing around with this thing at the office, and I actually realized this thing is so accurate because I kept on taking readings and it kept on putting me in the same spot. And then soon afterwards you heard that they stopped scrambling these things. Now it was spot on, and yes, I bought myself one the next week. And I came, and the Albert Falls at that stage was around 50%. And I came and I GPS'd a lot of the key areas. And I reckon, one of the first guys to use GPS for bass fishing. And it was an amazing tool. That's all I can say, because when the dam went up, I could go back every time. Yeah.
You know, I remember even with the guys that were die-hard Lawrence guys back then. Okay, Lawrence wasn't big with bass fishing back in the early days. It was predominantly hummingbird, if I remember correct.
Well, when I started bass fishing 22 years ago, no, I bought Lawrence. I bought a X. No, it wasn't. I don't know. I can't even remember. But you know, that unit's still running today. I've got it there at Gansbaai. We're still using a little like glass fiber boat. X25 or something it was called. Or 45, I can't remember. It's got a few pixels missing, but it still does the job.
Right, guys, that was just a very quick basic introduction to how Martin got started with the early day stuff. I don't know how you guys did it that long ago, and what sort of systems you used and what technology you used, but one of the big things to keep in mind here is how new this technology is in South Africa. Look, in the States, those guys have been using chart plotters on those lakes of theirs for many, many years. Charts and electronics, like Martin said, electronics has been around for a long time. He said 22 years he's had his Lawrence unit. But the charts are a much more recent event. And we're going to talk to him now about how did charts get started for him, actual charts. And this is what he had to say about it. Martin, while this is recording, I want to talk about something else. I'm probably going back on what we did on our very first FishTec live show. We were talking about sediment charts, which you have used since DOT, right? The big paper charts. Remember, you said that you had the big paper charts.
Yeah.
Now we know that there's good information on there, and that's why they are still on our FishTec charts. So you can change over to sediment. But when I first did the LCM charts, do you remember the old LCMs,
Yes.
those blue contour charts?
Yeah.
You were one of the very, very first guys to buy those charts.
Yeah.
What was the biggest difference you found between sediment and those charts?
Firstly, your intervals, your contour intervals were much, how can I put it, finer, which is a big deal. Because on the old sediment charts, you know, you could see where the drop-offs were and stuff like that, but only the primary river channels and things. Now with yours, it was just much easier distinguishing the secondary sort of difference in elevation, if I can express it that way. The other, sorry?
So your structure change was easier to, the change in structure
Yeah.
was easier to identify.
Absolutely. And where the biggest thing for me was that I could never bring that big paper map, spread it on the deck here, orientate it, you know, and then try. That was a big issue. So the moment I could put it on my unit and it could actually orientate it automatically north up, or sorry, route up or whatever, I've forgotten now. But it orientated itself. And then the big thing is I could contour the prime areas which was holding the fish. In other words, meaning contouring it. If the fish were holding in 10, 12 foot on a certain drop-off, I could now go and fish that edge of that drop-off spot on. Every time I put a cast, it was in that zone, which I never could do before. And that was massive. That made a big difference.
And back then it was with the old LMS 520, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was even before
Yeah,
HDS, huh?
yeah, I bought the first one I bought was I bought it actually when we fished the Zone 6. No, it wasn't before we had the Zone 6. It was at an Anda test against Zimbabwe. That's the first time I bought it, yeah.
Right, guys, so there you have it. You know, charts are by no means a new thing. The old sediment paper charts were extremely valuable back in the day, and they're still valuable today. The only difference between then and now, like you heard from Martin, is he doesn't have to have this massive piece of paper and try and put on his deck and orientate and all that type of thing. Guys, we're taking these charts, we're putting them straight onto Lawrence. I want to express here, you guys know I'm a die-hard Lawrence guy, and everyone says to me, John, don't pull the other brands down, but you must tell people what are good about your brand. So I'm going to take that opportunity to tell you what is so fantastic about Lawrence. Lawrence is the only, and I want to emphasize this, it's the only chart plotter out there that can put this amount of detailed information with multi-images onto a single card into a unit. It is the only one. I recently heard people saying, yeah, but this can do it and that can do it. No, it can't. Lawrence is the only chart plotter that can do this type of detail, and it's only going to get better. Sure, are the other brands going to catch up sometime at some point? They probably are, but remember, Lawrence is always working on technology, so we can expect to see some wonderful things coming from Lawrence in the chart plotting division over the next couple of years. I'll make sure of that. I'll stay on them and they'll see the value of it. And when the Americans, in fact, you know what, I'm jumping the gun now. Let's ask Martin what he thinks about imagery charts. Remember, the minute you start dealing with sediment charts, satellite imagery overlay, drone imagery, whatever it might be, remember, this is imagery overlay data. Ultra HF mosaics, the old mosaics, these are all imagery things. Let's see what Martin says about using imagery charts. You know, if you look at the American charts now, they've just released their new CMAP charts as a commercial chart. CMAP has sort of partnered with Navico now. And you know, if I look and read and watch videos on what the Americans are doing, they are purely contour charts. That you never hear the guys talking about imagery charts whatsoever. So with your knowledge, since you've been using charts that do have imagery, like drone imagery, satellite imagery, all these type of side scan imagery, all that, how much of a benefit is that extra data over just contours in your opinion?
It's massive. You know what I mean? It's now it's like having, call it so-called eyes on the water, because the whole what's made your maps very successful is that you go in, because of the elevation or the difference in depth in our dams or lakes, you go when it's at its lowest to actually take absolute virtual footage of what is there. You understand what I'm saying? So a contour map as detailed, even with old buildings and stuff, cannot show you this detail. You know what I mean? You can literally see, say there's a old foundation or something, you can literally distinguish between where certain parts of the building used to be. You know what I mean? Structure scans show you to a certain extent, but having a drone image of it from the top, which is superior, you know, so you basically can cast to a rock size of this bag just about. You know what I mean?
So guys, there you have it. High definition fishing charts with imagery overlays, be it ultra HF mosaics, standard mosaics. Well, we don't do standard mosaics anymore, we only do ultra HF, and there's a whole new level of side scan mosaics coming with the launch of the new active imaging from Lawrence, which we're very excited to actually test. But like you said, like you heard Martin say now, how important is this imagery data? Remember, it's all just part of a plan. It's just a tool. Once again, I repeat myself every single week. Guys, if you don't learn to use these tools, they are not going to automatically jump out your boat and go and do amazing things for you. You have to learn how to use the charts. Sometimes it does take a little bit of effort. I know we all got busy lives and we've got our families and whatnot, and to go and sit there in your boat or with a tablet via Wi-Fi and going through the charts and studying the areas and the depth and everything, it does pay dividends. And guys like Martin that put the effort in, I mean, these guys achieve great results. And let me tell you something, I might be giving a lot of you guys a hard time saying, yeah, go and do your homework and do this and go and do that. But let me tell you, we, South Africa, and if we've got any of our international guests with us tonight, yes, there's one there. Guys, we, South Africans, we are the world leaders in charts at the moment. For inland waters, freshwater fishing, particularly bass and that type of fishing, we are the leaders. We are the example to the rest of the world. So you guys that are putting in the time and are turning that data into weights at the scales at the tournaments, I take my hat off to you. Congratulations. So that is really, really great. Here's an interesting topic. You know, we were just buzzing around here and driving around, and Martin was fishing and whatnot. And I saw he was giving some humps. This area that we're in has got very subtle offshore humps, which is not on the sediment chart. In fact, I hadn't even mapped that area from a depth contour perspective back in the day, because guess what? I thought there's nothing there. Why would anybody want to be there? Boy, was I in for a shock when I saw that dam drop a couple of years ago and I saw what was down there. That's why I got in there with the drones and everything and captured all of it. But listen to what Martin says about different humps. Because remember, this area, there's lots of humps, and you're going to find this down at Clan William. There's a lot of those humps. There's a lot of areas. Zanine's got a lot of humps. Which humps work? Why spend time on... Okay, listen to what Martin says. But you know, it was really interesting what you were saying about these humps, but one for no explicable reason was going to work better than...
Yeah, I'll call it a beehive, because for some reason the fish just keep on going there, and one year it might be the one and one the other. You know, you can never... You know, it helps, where the maps are helping me, it's identifying them, and then you got to go and do your work and understand which one is it, and the fish will tell you that. But I think it's not really something you can see with electronics. My theory is, I think it's pheromones. Okay. So one of the easy, say a male will move up, one of the first males, and will start building a nest, and they'll start spawning there. Yeah. And the other fish, when they move up, can smell it, or they sense it. Yeah. And that's why they keep on going there. And the more they breed there, the more they know about it. You understand? That's sort of my theory.
Yeah, it's like that homely feeling.
Yeah. They get that. Yeah, it's like home baked cooking. Yeah, but it's something like that. But you know, there's certain things you can always. They always will go to, and especially in the spawn. Is like rubble, like hard bottom type of things, you know. Yeah. But again, I've learned less is more, you know, and that's where the maps have helped me a lot. Is that a lot of guys go and they look at the big island with the big boulders on, and that's awesome. But you got to look at the little bit more subtle stuff.
Yeah. Especially if you find the fish. How often do you think it happens that the guys find a good fish and then don't do the homework after catching the fish to try and work out why?
Oh, often. I think the guys are a bit complacent. You know, there's an old saying that, you know, and it goes back to pattern fishing, which is an old concept, long before we had good electronics and stuff. But if you understand why a fish, you know, or call it the term of pattern fishing. If you're fishing and you catch a bass, that's great. If you catch another bass doing the same thing, you're starting to look at compiling a pattern, and that's very powerful. So when you're fishing and you catch a nice fish, you know, the guys take photographs, put it live or whatever, but they don't question enough why did they catch that fish. And there's lots of reasons to it: bait, structure, weather, all those things come into play. But if you can duplicate that scenario which you've had there, and somewhere similar, not the same spot, but something similar, you'll catch yourself another bass. That's a pattern. And with the electronics and stuff we got nowadays, it's much easier finding a pattern, because you can look at the depth, you can look at the type of structure, because you can now distinguish exactly what it is. And you can go all over the lake or dam, and then you can go and pinpoint these areas and then extrapolate whatever you're doing.
No, that makes sense. Guys, that was really important what he was saying there with regard to patterning fish. I think, you know, you hear the phrase, you see it on YouTube videos and all this type of thing, but what Martin was pinpointing here, how the charts and your electronics comes into play when it comes to patterning. I must be honest, like he said too, I don't know of an easier way. Once you've worked something out and you've established, like you said, it's happened once, it happened twice, you've now got a pattern. Now, how do we repeat this? Your charts. And let me tell you, what makes a good engineer today, whether it's a civil engineer, mechanical, electrical, or whatever, does he remember every single word that was written in every technical book he ever read or studied to get his qualifications? No. Do you know what he did? He knew where to go and look. And this is why you need to spend enough time on the charts. So when you develop a pattern like this, you know where to look. Somewhere in your mind you'll have a memory of, hang on, I sort of seem to remember something like that here, here, and here. And yeah, great success, things are going to happen. Now we've established which is the right hump to go to, which charts, we're using the charts. Now comes to the boat. How do you approach your spot? Do you just pull in, foot off the gas, motor in neutral, trailing motor in? What information has Martin got for us on this subject of what do you do? How do you approach your spots? I can't remember. Okay, I've got this one recording now. I can't remember if we discussed this at our very first FishTec live show, but there's obviously a spot coming up here now. What is your approach? Is there an angle specific? Is there a reason why you would approach it from and change to a different angle?
Yeah, we're fishing at the moment because of the sort of what we did.
Guys, I'm just interrupting this video quickly. I've just noticed while I'm looking at this, I've realized this is actually not the correct screen recording, because what I had was I had a unit recording Martin's unit that he was using up on the front, and then I've overlaid it into the video. And yes, I have put the video together and I prepared it, but looking at it now, this is not the right video. It's very similar, but this is not the right video, or not the right part of the video. I don't think I've matched the timing up, because Martin is actually with the boat there, he's casting straight onto the hump there. So guys, sorry about that. I've made a little bit of a oops here, but yeah, Martin, go for it, carry on.
With a sort of post-spawn, the fish are relatively lethargic. You know, they bit tired and whatever, so they're not that aggressive, especially on the shallower spot like what we're fishing now. You know, it's about where I'm casting about 4 foot. We're sitting in about 6-7 foot now. The little mound comes up to about 4. So, you know, I'm fishing very slowly, but some of the areas we'll fish a bit later. Is one. It's a better one.
Oh, that is a better one. Jeez, that's much better, eh? Woo!
I know this fish pulled it up at once before.
Oh, that is awesome. Yeah. Still feisty, that one.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's brilliant.
Female. Pretty, eh?
Very
Nice
good
colours.
condition, eh? Fantastic. Well done.
Yeah, okay, so we were talking about angle. Now, see, I'm fishing quite soft, I'm fishing slow plastics quite methodically. So angle now comes about practicality to get a line with what you're seeing with the visible structure. And the best sort of way you can fish through it with the less hassle and put your bait in the higher percentage zone. Now, if we're going to fish a bit deeper later on, we might fish with other lures like crankbaits and stuff like that. Then the maps and positioning is absolutely vital, because you need to, from what you can see, the position and the sort of the way the mound is positioned, you want your bait in the strike zone for the maximum type of period. So if you're fishing an elongated sort of bar or something like that, you don't want to put your boat next to it and just cast over the saddle pot, and literally the crank will run and be in the strike zone for like 1-2 meters and then deep water again. So you want to put your boat like sort of pointing like in the same direction as the long part of the mound. You want to cast and you want to crank and keep that crank coming up that bar the whole. You understand what I'm saying? No. Yeah, bass fishing is a game it's a game of statistics. The more that you can get your bait in the zone where the fish are going to eat it, the more bites you're going to get it. So, and that's where the maps and the things make a difference. As I'm saying now, there's a lot of visual, because I can see little, yeah. But the moment this is under